Hello, hello. Welcome back, everybody. Excited to get into another episode of Keys, all about the cost and usage report today. But before we get started, Zach, where do we find you today?
I'm located in San Francisco in the
Oh,
US.
very nice. I think I've only been to San Francisco once. Very hilly, right? If I've just
Very hilly, yeah. I don't recommend biking here.
but I remember going and I inadvertently kept recreating scenes from the Princess Diaries. Like I kept going to the places that I'd seen in the films, like getting the corn dog because I'm English and I wanted to try a corn dog, and go to the pier and then find that arcade they go to. And I was like having a great time just being princess.
That, that's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, that's my fond memories of being there. Okay, let's get into it. So welcome everyone to the Keys to AWS Optimization, the show where we share stories, concepts, and solutions to help you unlock your spend at AWS. My name is Steph Gooch, and I'm a Senior Optimization Architect Advocate, here helping you with all your FinOps questions. As I said, today we're going to be talking about the cost and usage report. We're going to have two different guests today. First, my lovely guest, Zach. We're going to be talking about CUR 2.0. And then in about 20-25 minutes, we're going to bring Meredith on to talk about the new CUR dashboard. Now, both of these things were released at reInvent last year. So we thought, why not kind of bring these together and do a bit of a demo? Couple of housekeeping bits before we get started. As a reminder, there's a bunch of events going on this year. The one I want to highlight first is the FinOps Foundation London FinHack with me. We're hosting a fun FinHack the day before the London Summit, where you get to come and optimize an account, compete, and win prizes. Alongside that, if you go on to the events page, you'll also find the Member Summit, where we're going to be doing a session with Yuri, who's been a guest on here a couple of times. We're going to be doing a chalk talk all about the what's of waste. So make sure you tune into that. And as always, please feel free to put your comments, questions in the chat box. We want to see what's going on. AWS Cosplay in the house, love it. And yeah, any other questions, feel free to email us at costoptimization@amazon.com. Right, that was I feel like a whole minute and a half of me rambling through. So let's get into today's episode all about the CUR. So Zach, do you want to give us your 1-minute origin story?
Yeah, sure thing. So I've been at AWS for just over a year and a half now. I'm a product manager here, working in what we call the commerce platform, but specifically focused on tools for helping AWS customers export their billing and cost management data from AWS to their own local environments so that they can use it for their own FinOps activities, whether that's cost allocation, reporting, any sort of advanced thing that they want to do outside of the AWS console. Yeah, I've got a background in chemical engineering, so at one point I made a switch from from the physical world to the digital world. But I've been doing digital enterprise product management now for a couple of years.
Oh wow, chemical engineering. God, maybe
Yeah.
that should be a new question. I ask people if they have what their like weird background
Right.
different thing would be. I mean, I did maths at university or college in America,
Yeah.
so it's not really that big of a leap. But I mean, a good question for the chat. What is everybody's like old jobs? Does everybody have a weird one? I also used to be a cake decorator for a while, so that's one that I've realized was still on my LinkedIn, and people would ask me about it, and so I've removed it now
Nice.
because I was like,
Well,
I
yeah,
don't.
I'll even step up the weird job another level and I'll say I worked with electron beams. So I used to fire electrons at materials. Fun stuff.
I'm just imagining that episode of
Separate
Big
show,
Bang
separate show.
Theory. Yeah, just like Big Bang Theory, where they're all wearing they are doing the lasers.
Yeah,
So that's excellent. I love that. Oh, we got some people sharing in that what they used to. I used to cater for country clubs for a bit. Oh, I mean, I
yeah.
used to
Nice.
work in a golf club doing like waitressing. And yeah, I'm glad I don't have to do that anymore. So what else we got? Computer science grad here, weird one. I knew what I wanted to do since a young age. Good for you. Do you know, fun fact, I'm sure my parents will get this eventually, but I was like, maybe I should do like IT in my GCSEs, which is when you're like 15, 16 in the UK. And
Hmm.
my parents were like, you won't like it. Look at me now.
Proved them wrong.
Yeah. And last one, longshoreman on a container ships. I did containers before Docker. That's excellent.
Nice. Wow.
That's a brag, right?
Mind blown.
Okay. Thanks, guys. Keep those coming in. Right. So let's get into the meat of it, which is CUR 2.0. So Zach, why don't you just give us a quick overlay? What is that?
Yeah, so CUR 2.0 is a table that's available in this new feature, data exports, that you mentioned we launched at reInvent last year. And we built data exports in CUR 2.0 to give customers a better way to reliably export their costs and usage data in the format they want with exactly the data that they want. And so CUR 2.0 has a couple differences from what we're calling the Legacy CUR now that make it more unique and give it a little bit more functionality. The first is that it provides SQL capabilities, very basic SQL capabilities, such that you can get exactly the columns that you want every single time in your export. Because you can actually write a SQL select statement with the columns that you want, and you'll be guaranteed to get those every time that export gets delivered to Amazon S3. The second is that we've added some additional columns to the CUR 2.0. So we've been hearing from customers for a while that they actually want the names of the accounts, not just the account IDs. That, I couldn't
What?
believe it. I thought everyone could just read, numbers and have those memorized. But so now
Do you
we
know
have
you have that?
the payer
But just
account names. Oh, sorry, go
love
ahead.
it. No, I was
Yeah.
just gonna say, there's gonna be some people who are so smug that are like, I knew all of the account IDs,
Right,
and I feel like back in the
right.
day, it's like, yeah, I did, and that's probably not a good thing about my job that I knew all these IDs. But yeah, account names, amazing that they're in
Account
there.
names. Yeah.
Continue, sorry.
No worries. And then third we have is that we actually nested some of the columns together that historically were very sparse or would change customer to customer. So there's four column groups that this happened where they basically became kind of like JSON object, or sometimes they're called map columns, where you get in the value is key value pairs of a specific attribute and then the value of that attribute. So I'll give an example of this later today too, but say for the product columns where there used to be literally hundreds of different product columns, we've kept some of the ones that are the most common, and then we collapsed the rest of them into a single column called product, and you'd have like a JSON object with the key value pair of that product attribute and the value of that attribute. And this just basically makes the schema a little bit more consistent across all of your AWS accounts. And it also reduces the sparsity of your data by getting rid of columns that might just be empty for most of your rows.
Yeah, I'm imagining now, I know exactly what you mean. And people who are watching who are probably familiar with the CUR can just see in their heads like all these empty boxes that they're so used to, like, is anything there? Like you're just scrolling through
Right. Yeah,
the
exactly.
export.
That's exactly right. Yeah. And then the very last thing though is that while we saw this nested data as improvement, we saw CUR 2.0 overall as an improvement, but we know that there's lots of customers who have data pipelines that are built on the legacy CUR and that may look at the CUR 2.0 and be like, this is great, but I don't want to rewrite this entire data pipeline that I built in order to start using it. And so we've designed it to be compatible with the legacy CUR. And one of the ways that you can do this is write a SQL query that generates the schema of in your CUR 2.0 that will match your legacy CUR. And so for those nested columns, you can use the dot notation, or basically an operator to select a specific attribute and have that come as a specific column that would look just like the CUR 2.0. And we'll show an example of this. I think it's always more nebulous when you talk about it in words than when you see it on a screen. But yeah, the backwards compatibility was another one of our goals.
Yes, we always have to hear that. We don't want it to be like what was it? Do you remember the old one, the DR,
Yeah, there's a handful. The DBR,
the DBR?
the detailed billing report.
Yes, that
Yeah.
was it. Because I feel really old saying this. I remember when the CUR came out, and there's going to be
Yeah.
people. I know I'm not that old. It was my birthday on Monday, so there's some cards like behind. But I remember when it came out because I think I'd started to look into the the old one, and so I was like,
Yeah.
okay, I know this thing, and then it was like, no, there's a new thing, and I was like, oh, for goodness sake, I've got to. But don't worry, guys, this new one is the same, but just improved in the terms of the
Yeah.
data structure
Yeah,
and
that's
schema,
right.
I
Yeah.
think. Yeah. And then the same, you were talking about the JSON. I think we said this, but we'll just double check that that includes the tagging as well in that kind of JSON
Yes,
columns.
yes. So your resource tags, your cost categories are still in the CUR. All of the columns that are in the CUR 2.0 are the same as in the CUR. So it's really just about giving you more power to control what you receive to shape your universe.
Yeah. People in the chat are remembering the days of DBR, Alex, the DBR days.
DVR days, nice.
Throwback. Love it. Oh, we've already got a question. I'm just going to throw this up. So, is the CUR 2.0 in line with the FinOps Foundation's focus spec?
So the CUR 2.0 is not, because it's just really just an evolution of the CUR. But separately, we are AWS recently joined the FinOps Foundation and is part of the Focus community, and so we're having an active participation in that program, and expect to see more updates from us with how we'll handle Focus in the future.
Yeah. Here's if anybody wants to read about that, us joining and what that means for us, there's the blog in the chat below. Okay, so we've got account names, this new kind of SQL that we'll do a quick demo of in a second. Is there anything else you want to go into before we do the demo? I have one more question, but anything else you want to share?
No, I think we could ask the question and then let's do the demo, and then we can wrap it up with some takeaways.
Okay, so my question is it 2.0 or 2.0? Because I said point. And you'll say, is this a European American thing, or
that's exactly where my mind went first, is that this has got to be a Europe versus US thing, or maybe I'm also from the Midwest. I don't know. We say some funny things out there too. Maybe there's people in the chat will say that they say 0.0, and
yeah, chat, help. What are we doing? Just type in point or dot. Please don't just put a dot in there. That's not going to be helpful.
You now have to write out point or dot every time you write the CUR 2.
We got someone saying Midwest represent. Okay. Got a couple of points. Okay, all right. As a Canadian, notice this
nice. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. All right. Point. The chat is saying point. Okay, so
okay. I'm the odd one out.
It might be a European chat. We don't know. But if you're watching us on YouTube, comment in the chat. Is it a point like we've got here, or is it a dot? Let us know. And if you are watching on YouTube, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel to stay up to date. Okay, let's get into our demo and show off this awesome new kind of version of the CUR.
Love to. So I'm just going to share my screen here.
There we go.
All right. So what I've already got pulled up here is just the billing and cost management console. So this is where also something that we released at the reInvent, a rework of the billing and cost management homepage. From here, I would just click on the data exports tab, or the link in the left navigation bar. And I've already got everything pre-opened. Oops, I gotta re-log in. Maybe I'll.
No, it's okay. The panic of when we're demoing.
Yep. And then I click on data exports, and I'm brought to the data exports page. Here you can see any CUR 2.0s, trying out the new word. Any cost and usage dashboards that I've made, as well as any legacy CURs that I've created.
So this is where everything is now, right?
This is where everything is.
I was even confused the first time. I was like, "Where'd the CUR go?" And then it's like, "Oh, just
yeah. So for now, the old CUR page is still available as a legacy page. We have plans to get rid of that though, and and just have you manage everything in one single page. So all of your exports here.
Cool.
And what I wanted to show is just we'll show just how simple it is to create an export, and then we'll show like the example of that data that we were describing earlier with the nested data, and I'll use Athena to do that. So to create an export, I just click create. I have 3 different options. I can choose between a standard, a dashboard, or a legacy CUR. I have to just give my export a name, so I'll call it Twitch with Steph. CUR 2.0 is already selected. I have all of these really similar things that I used to be able to select before with the Legacy CUR. So I can include resource IDs. I can add split cost allocation data to see the breakdown of my ECS containers by pod usage. I can change the time granularity. And then here's really where we get to some of the new exciting stuff where we can start selecting what columns we want. And so I can search for columns and I can select them, and these selections will be maintained across the pages. And then here you can actually see like the UI is generating the SQL query for you. And so you don't have to write this long fun thing. It'll do that for you.
Could
But
you write it yourself though, if you wanted to?
In the console, you cannot write it yourself.
Okay.
However, using our APIs and something like the CLI or the SDKs, you have full flexibility to write the query that you want.
Okay, cool.
And then I select some of my delivery options, as like the compression and file format and the file versioning. I just need to select a bucket. I've got a bucket I've been using a lot. We apply a new policy that is compatible with the legacy CUR. So you don't need to worry about, you can deliver it to the same bucket as your legacy CUR.
Cool.
I add a path prefix, which is basically just saying like, what's the folder that I want to deliver to in S3. So I call it something like my CUR exports. And then optionally, you can add tags to your exports too if you want to use things like tag-based access control. So I selected everything and I click create, and voila, it's the export is created and it will start being delivered on that daily cadence.
And is that still 24 hours for it to get that first delivery like the legacy CUR?
That's right. Yep.
About, yeah.
Yep, exactly. And so it's that simple, and you'll see when it was last updated in this timestamp field, and you'll see when I created it on that date created field.
And can you edit an existing CUR 2.0? So say, for example, you took out a column that you were like, I don't really care about this. And then somehow you've realized, oh, wait, no, I do care about this. Can we edit?
Absolutely. So you can edit both in the console or using the APIs. So in the console, I just click on that export that I created, and I can see kind of a summary of it, and I can see what columns that I've selected. And if I want to go back and change those, I click the edit button up here. I go down to my column selection, and I can remove or add columns however I like. You'll see that some things are read-only after you've created, like the export name and some of the preferences about what data is contained within the table.
Right.
But the SQL itself is editable. And so once I've liked my column selection, I just click save, and my column selection is updated. And this would only affect exports that are delivered in the future. Any exports that have already been delivered would still have whatever columns were there before. Okay.
I might pause you there because I've got a couple of questions in the chat. Sure. So let's jump into these. If we need to put up the demo, let me know again. Why is it called CUR 2.0 instead of a new name like the switch from the DBR? We discussed it a little bit, but is it just because this is an extension of the old one?
Yeah, it's just an extension of the old one. It has the same columns and the same data that was in the CUR, and so the schema change was a lot less different than the schema change from the DBR to the CUR.
Mhm.
Love the username too. Cloud Without Strife. Final Fantasy 7.
Yeah, we have some great. Well done, everybody. Everyone has some really cool names in here.
Yeah.
Okay, Crosslayer. Will Legacy CUR automatically support 2.0, or do we need to set up a new CUR?
Yeah, you need to set up a new CUR to have the 2.0 features. It's a new set of APIs that manages the CUR 2.0. So it does require you to make that shift. But like I said, our goal was to make it such that you can make a CUR 2.0 that looks just like your legacy CUR to make that transition easier. And then you can start adding in new columns, perhaps writing some where clauses to filter out different data and those sort of things.
And finally, how does editing affect historical data when it comes to those changes that we just
Yeah,
went through?
that's a great question. So editing does not change your historical data. However, if you do edit your query, you can always create a support ticket to have your CUR backfilled up to like 37 months in historically is what we are typically able to do.
Oh, okay, good to know. Let's get into the SQL side of this to see what this data actually looks like. So I'm going to bring up your screen again. Let's move us over to the side. There we go. All right, what have we got here?
Yeah, so I've already got a CUR 2.0 loaded into Athena, and I've written a query here to try to illustrate the new columns that we've created that we've collapsed together in order to make the CUR 2.0 have less data sparsity and to have a consistent schema that you can use also across all of your AWS accounts. So let's look at the data first here. So in the legacy CUR, you'd be used to seeing columns that look like this. I'd have something called resource tags and then underscore the name of my tag. And I would have the values of that tag for each of these line items. Or for cost categories, I might have a column that's called cost category underscore the name of my cost category, in this case, department, and then the value for that cost category. In the CUR 2.0, we've actually collapsed all of the resource tag columns and all of the cost category columns into individual columns that have basically JSON objects or map objects with key value pairs for each resource tag or cost category. So in this example, I'm looking at the resource tag column, and I see here, oh, this is my resource tag key, AWS created by, and then this is the value of that particular tag key. And I would have a key value pair if I had multiple resource tags for this line item, and I would have those basically just one after another. You can see how that looks like in cost category, where I've got a particular line item that has a department cost category. Here's the value of that cost category, cost lab account 2. This one also has a second cost category of thing and has the value of marketing. And so basically all these two cost category columns just got collapsed together.
Right. So rather than having everything like multiple columns for each individual tag, you can see it all in one, and that just really compacts that data. That's great.
Exactly. But the key thing is, like I mentioned earlier, that we wanted to maintain that backwards compatibility. So you have the ability in data exports to write a query to get an individual column for a particular cost category or particular resource tag. So I've done this in Athena here using Athena's specific notation, where they say resource tags, and then they use these brackets and to write, I want AWS created by, so I want that particular tag as a separate column. In data exports and CUR 2.0, I can do something very similar, but just with a slightly different notation, what we call the dot notation. So I would I would write resource tags dot my tag name, AWS created by, and then I would start to get this call a separate column with the AWS created by tag that would match exactly what you would have in the legacy CUR today.
Cool. All right, that makes sense. So you can still get the data in the same format that you're used to, especially if you have any reports that run on that. But you can do the new version and see it all together. Awesome. Anything else on
Yeah.
this before we move on?
No, I think that makes sense. Just reiterate that like what we're trying to do here is give customers the choice to have it the way that they want, whether that's in the collapsed form or as separate forms.
Okay, perfect. We have like 2 more minutes just before we swap over to Meredith. And as always, guys, don't forget to stick around to the very end to see Richard's summary, Secret Richard, and what he writes for me to read at the end. So we've already kind of discussed that this CUR isn't, the old legacy CUR is not going to move to the new one, but will the old CUR be removed is the big question.
So yeah, we have no plans today to remove the legacy CUR, and that's why we've added the capabilities to manage both your legacy CUR and your CUR 2.0 in the data exports console page. So we do have plans to deprecate that legacy CUR console page, and if you've visited that page, you've probably seen a message that says, "Hey, this may be removed." It's just the console page. Your legacy CURs will all be untouched and still be accessible from the data exports page.
Nice. And then we've kind of said as well, if you want to have the new one and then migrate over, I feel like that's the path we're going to kind of be suggesting customers with. And you do get the benefit of like storing less data and having those account names, which we really love. And
Yeah.
finally, kind of what's next? What's the future of CUR 2.0? Now I'm
Yeah.
like catching myself being like 0.2.
2.0. Yeah, so like there's kind of two different fronts for the ways that we're looking to expand here. The first is about adding more billing and cost management data sets to data exports so that customers can export those and use them with the CUR 2.0 in dashboards or analyses. So one of our top candidates right now is providing the list of recommendations from the new cost optimization hub. So you can start bringing those into dashboards and access them via an export. We're also thinking about data sets like the public pricing data. And we'd love to hear from our customers, whether they're on this call or anywhere else, what other data sets they would like to be able to export from data exports. And then we're also looking at just improving the value proposition of the CUR 2.0. We want to add more columns and more data there that customers need, as well as just making it easier to create exports using SQL to generate the different views that you might want. And so one of the things I didn't mention when we were talking about it was that with the power of the where clause and the select statement is that you can basically create different views of your cost and usage data, filter by a specific resource tag or filter by a specific cost category. And then I want to just share this set of data with, an application team to see only their cost and usage. So in short, keep improving the CUR 2.0 and add more data sets to data exports.
Love it. Okay, awesome. Thank you so much for coming on and talking through this. I hope everyone has learned something and is excited to kind of go and play with this new CUR 2.0 and as 2.0. And as always, then make sure that you stick around, that you like and subscribe and all that jazz. So if we have any other updates, we will make sure to tell you. Okay, thanks, Zach. I'm going to swap over to Meredith. But yeah, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Sounds good. Thanks for having me, Steph.
Pleasure. Hello, Meredith. How's it going? Oh, let me unmute you.
Classic. At least you didn't say you're on mute.
Yeah.
Hi, Steph. How are you doing today?
I am great, thanks. Just had a great chat with Zach, which you saw, all about the data export. I'm super excited. And he did kind of show on his demo the cost and usage dashboard when we were talking about setting it up. So that is what you're going to be chatting about.
Yes.
Before we get into it, I'm just going to answer one question, which is from, will there be a backfill on the data? Zach can always type in on Twitch, but you can request a backfill if you do make a change. So that was kind of covered in the earlier bit. But yeah, Meredith, where do we find you? We had Zach in America. Whereabouts are you?
Yes. So I am Canadian, but I am based in Manchester, UK. So I am on same time zone as you. It is almost the end of the workday on a Thursday. We've got a really exciting event I'm heading to from here. We're doing a Women in Cloud event with one of our
Oh,
partners, Slalom, with a focus on AI. So I'm going to head over there when I'm done.
oh, amazing. And
Yeah.
classic AI. Don't worry, guys, as well. Before anybody asks, we're going to cover AI on the show. Next season, I've got not one, but two bookings for us to do AI. So it's coming.
Awesome.
Uh, but yeah, before we get into it, Meredith, why don't you give us your 1 minute origin story?
Love to. So I am a technical account manager at AWS. I have been here coming up to 4 years now, which is a crazy thing to think about. I support UK public sector customers. So I am based here. I contribute to the TFCs around cloud financial management. So I get to talk to lots of customers about some of their challenges around getting their arms around their AWS spend and understanding it and sharing data and all that fun stuff. So yeah, I've been doing this for a little while. My background is in tech. I did that typical gap year, but then that turned into 4 years. And I went back to school for IT support services. So very, very focused. I want to go help people with their technical challenges because there's nothing worse than banging your head on the desk when you just can't get through something. And so I started off as kind of customer facing support, and I've moved up into this senior TAM role over here at AWS now.
Amazing. And that's such a good reminder because you've done a lot of work with the cloud intelligence dashboards and a lot of documentation and with that, right?
Yes, absolutely. So currently working on revamping our wiki, our internal pages around this, because we've just expanded the cloud intelligence dashboards so much. So I'm not here to talk about those
No.
directly today, but they will come up, and we'll
Adjacent.
get into
Yeah.
that later. Yes.
Yeah, and as a reminder, today we were talking earlier about what we did before we worked in cloud. Meredith obviously we just mentioned what she did. I have done a few different jobs. I actually used to work with Oracle databases. That's another thing I used to do. But drop it in the chat if you're joined halfway through. Let us know what you used to do, whether it's what you did at college or if you had a different type of job. We even had someone who did containers before they were cool. So please feel free to drop those in and we'll call them out. But Meredith, what are we talking about today then?
So I am here to talk about the cost and usage dashboard. So this is something that we launched during reInvent last year. So really ties in nicely with CUR 2.0. Not sure which to say. I think a part of it is I grew up in Toronto and we call Toronto T dot or
Oh,
T.O back when I was younger. I don't know if the cool kids say that anymore,
the cool kids
but
still
that's
say
where
it.
my that's where my dot comes from, and I always lean that way. So when the new CUR came out, we released this cost and usage dashboard as well. And basically, it is a very simple way to get your cost and usage data visualized inside QuickSight, which is Amazon's business intelligence service, which is also what powers the cloud intelligence dashboards.
Yeah, it's very cool that it's now in the console. This is something that you could deploy, as you saw when Zach was showing his screen, that this can come straight from here and built upon the CUR. And we're super excited. We're going to do a quick kind of demo of these. But are there any kind of, I feel like there's something we have to touch on before we do the demo, which is what is the difference between the CIDs, the Cloud Intelligence dashboards, Kudos, all that jazz, and these new dashboards?
Yes, this is the classic question. And so I've been doing quite a few talks on the cost and usage dashboard this year, and I get this question afterwards a lot from the audience. Um, the cost and usage dashboard was inspired by the cloud intelligence dashboards. So the cloud intelligence dashboards are the overarching framework. Most people might have heard of the Kudos dashboard. It's the kind of the most popular one, but Kudos is not the only dashboard. Yes, thank you for that link. We have some workshops up there that you can get this deployed. But so the cost and usage dashboard was inspired by the Kudos and Cloud Intelligence dashboards, which were inspired by the cost intelligence dashboards. But basically, a slimmed down version of Kudos. It maps very closely with the cost intelligence dashboard, so kind of high level executive overview of your cost and usage data. But I think the key difference, there's a couple key differences. One is around the type of data that you're able to visualize. So we don't get hourly granularity with the cost and usage dashboard. We don't get resource IDs with our cost and usage dashboard. We can't bring tags in yet. I don't actually know if that's on the roadmap yet, but I can imagine we're gonna, if it's in the CUR, we'll bring tags in eventually somehow. It is not as customizable as our cloud intelligence dashboard. So I think the thing to consider is, where are you at in your cloud financial management, FinOps, cost awareness journey? Are you at the beginning stages, and do you just want something really quick and easy? Cost and usage dashboard is going to be the right choice for you. If you're looking for something that is a little bit more robust, you get that resource level granularity, you get hourly data, you can customize it, you can pull in actually multiple organizations' data as well, so we can have multiple payer accounts consolidated in one dashboard. If you need something a little bit more, robust, I think is the best word.
And
that
control,
you're going to want to go.
you can customize it, control it, that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. So a little bit more flexibility. And I think the other thing to consider is that our cloud intelligence dashboards are a solution. So they're not an AWS service, they're not inside the console. So we're able to iterate a little bit faster. We've had 3 new releases of Kudos in 2 months. So we're able to do those kinds of changes, rapid stuff around RDS extended support and EKS extended support, which is very new. We have that in our dashboards on the cloud intelligence side already. So cost and usage dashboard that we're going to talk about today, the focus is quick and easy, one-click deployment, and you get still, loads of visuals and tables, and you can apply filters and you can set controls to change the way the data looks for you.
Awesome. And someone's even commented, love how easy it is to deploy. Yeah, it's a quick click through. And it's not that the cloud intelligence dashboards are hard to deploy, they just have many elements to it. But that is because, as Meredith said, they're a solution. They're things that we have built using CloudFormation and cobbling things together, as well as, obviously, there's no shame because it came from our team. And it's a very complex solution now, and it's grown so much since the first versions of it, when it was if anybody remembers the first versions of it, but it was loads of these things you had to deploy. At least now it's like 2 CloudFormation templates, which is great. I love it.
Yeah, no more manual clicks.
Yeah.
Also.
Yeah. Few. Okay, cool. So should we jump into a demo of where it is and what it looks like and stuff like that first?
Yeah, I'll show you where we set that up in the console.
Yeah, and as always, if anybody has any questions as we're going through, feel free to drop them in the chat, and we'll kind of go through those. And we'll also kind of go through a couple of other bits about the dashboards and what to look for as we do it. Let's bring this up. There we go.
Right, so very familiar spot. We were just in here with Zach a few minutes ago.
Yeah.
Yes, if you can recall all that time ago. So we've got a few ways that we can generate this dashboard. So you can click create and you can choose the cost and usage dashboard, or if you are lazy like me and you want one less click, you can just choose the cost and usage dashboard option from the bottom. So again, very similar to the demo that Zach did. I'll just put in some dummy data here, Steph's stream. And we've got to define our QuickSight account. So this is one of the first things that we need to do. So QuickSight already has to be established. It needs to be activated. And then we need to grab our username from there. So I'm just going to hop over to my other tab and copy that real quick.
Yeah, just to reiterate that you have to enable QuickSight before. I think a lot of customers get stuck on this, even when deploying the dashboards, the cloud intelligence dashboards, that they're like, oh, it's not working. It's like, have you enabled QuickSight? Because it is this BI service that kind of sits. It's like a little bit different to some of the other ones. So yeah, just make sure to go and enable it.
That's it. So one thing actually I'm not sure about, and I should have the answer to this, but I don't know if we need this to be enterprise level. Do you know, Steph?
Oh, I'm not sure off the top of my head. I don't know if Richard could have a quick Google and see if you have to have enterprise QuickSight to get it. I'm sure you'd have to just have.
I assume so, but I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. So then it shows us what the data table actually looks like. It shows us here that it is a daily granularity. We can see what columns are included, or sorry, what the query is that is going into. So this is querying the CUR 2.0 and pulling in these columns. We can't actually change any of this. So there's no way that you can pull in additional columns or remove columns. This is all static today. Similarly, we cannot override the data export. It's always going to be in gzip, and we're always going to override the existing report that's there. Then we need to tell it where we're going to store this data. So it's going to generate the CUR 2.0. It's going to do the query that we just saw, and it's going to dump that data into an S3 bucket. So I'm going to tell it right now which S3 bucket to use. I'm going to create a new one that is also called Steph Stream.
All the stuff everyone's accounts I have now.
Yes, that's fine. So create the bucket, and then we're going to give it a prefix. So I'm going to call this cost and usage. I don't like the short form of cost and usage dashboard. It's not as good as the short form of cost and usage report. CUD doesn't really fly off.
No, yeah.
It doesn't roll off the tongue, does it?
Let's just call it cost and usage dashboard, or CUR dashboard. Like, yeah, we'll do a
CUR dashboard. That's a good one.
Yeah, CUR dashboard, acronym and a full word.
We love acronyms here, but like maybe sometimes we don't go with them.
We do.
So then we need a service role that is going to be communicating between QuickSight and the S3 bucket. So again, I can just have it create that for me, but it shows me what permissions are going to be applied. So I know that this is least permissions, or I could choose an existing role if I had one. So because I am a good operational type of person, I'm going to tag this as well. I'm going to say project Steph's stream.
Look at our
and
tagging.
Create. Oh, it doesn't like, okay. I had a feeling that was going to be the case. Probably the apostrophe
no capitals. Too. Yeah, no capitals or no spaces. Oh.
Okay, let's try that. There we go.
That was actually just a lesson. Don't have gaps.
Yes. So it's going to create the dashboard for us. It's going to do all that background. So create the CUR. It's going to run the query, dump the data into the bucket. So we're not going to see any of this in the dashboard until tomorrow. So this is a good, not quite 24 hours, overnight, I would say.
Overnight, okay.
Typically, yeah, because your CUR gets updated up to 3 times a day. So chances are, if it's a good closing duty activity, wrap up your day, generate the dashboard, come in first thing the next morning and take a look at it and see if we've now got the data populated.
Yeah, I love that. AMIA people, it's the end of the day. Don't leave the stream, obviously. Go do it after.
Set this up. You got a second monitor, right? So then, because this is a live stream, I have a dashboard that I've prepared earlier, which we can use to dig into that a little bit. But let me just stop sharing that for a sec. Do we jump right into the dashboard demo?
Yeah, let's go for it. Let's go for it. Oh, as you're doing that, we already have this turkey ready in the oven, as good as a cooking show would. Love it. Exactly. It's like Blue Peter, if anybody in America knows. It's like, do you guys know what that is? You've been here long enough.
No. I just know it because I've lived here long enough now that I don't think most people would.
Are like Googling, what's Blue Peter? Google it. Okay.
So here's one we prepared earlier. And actually, this is even historical data, which I've manipulated some filters so that we can see it, because this is dummy demo data. So our cost and usage dashboard, this is a slightly older version as well than what you would generate today. I think we're on at least version 101 now. Maybe Zach or Richard would know the answer to that, what the current version is. But starting off with, one of the things I want to highlight is that read the stuff that's here. I know it sounds really obvious, I know, but personally, my eyes glance over text when I'm looking at data and visuals. If I'm looking at something that's very interactive and visual, I ignore text. But this stuff is here to help you. There are some good insights, some recommendations, some suggested ways to kind of find some opportunities for cost optimization through this dashboard. But of course, this dashboard isn't just for cost optimization, right? It aids that, but we can use it for more than that. We can use this within our business processes to get our business stakeholders understanding how much we're spending on our actual cloud spend. So definitely recommend that you read the recommendations, and they'll be throughout the dashboard as well. So if we just hop to the first billing summary page, this is kind of a very high level overview of pretty much your last 3 months spend. And we break it down by several dimensions. So you'll notice this trend as we look at the different sheets. We visualize data for a particular thing, and then we slice and dice it by several different dimensions. Stuff like account ID, region, operation, resource, what have you, depending on what the service is. So we've got invoice spend by account and amortized spend by account. So for people not familiar with amortized spend and why that's different, in these visuals, it looks pretty much the same, but it's a slight difference. Amortized is going to accommodate for any upfront commitments that you've made. So typically that's going to be around savings plans, reserved instances. Rather than showing a huge cost 1 month, it spreads that over the length of the term. So then we have the spend by the product and also amortized and invoiced, and a quick glance of the top 10 spending accounts. So I always like stuff that just screams out at me, right? I can see really easily here that this account spends the most money. There's no question there.
Yeah.
A nice section about savings and discounts. So again, a lot of things that customers ask about is, okay, I want to see how much my usage is, but I also want to think about how much I'm actually spending with my discounts, with any savings that I might have from my reserved instances and savings plans, at the same time as being able to look at the raw usage and cost. So this is nice that we see all of our savings in one spot.
Nice and easy.
So month over month trends, this is something that's also in Kudos. And this one, again, I love it because it's just obvious right here. CloudTrail has gone up this month by 58%.
Oh no, someone's got multiple CloudTrails in their account and they know it.
How many times do we as AWS employees working with customers see something like this? So the month over month trend, okay, fine. It's easily identified for me. There might be some optimization I can do on CloudTrail. So I want to zoom in on that. I'm going to right click and just, or sorry, not right click, but just left click on my CloudTrail spend. And we see all the other visuals on this sheet are going to update to just focus on CloudTrail. So just do that again so we actually see that. So now I can see, okay, these are the accounts that are spending in CloudTrail. And, you know, if we scroll down the list, we might see one that's got a big increase, and then we can say, aha, you're the culprit. And then maybe we go chat with that team or that account owner, and there we are. And we say, you need to tidy up your CloudTrail.
Yeah, what's going on?
So then all of our, everything else on this sheet also filters out. So another thing I really like to point out about these dashboards when I'm talking to customers is the interactivity about these. Click on stuff, filter. You won't know what you can do in the dashboard until you start playing around with it. So you can sort by the value, by the percentage. You can apply your own individual filters here if you want to. So we've already got, obviously, out of the box some filters, but I might want to apply another filter because I have a very specific question I'm trying to answer with this data.
Right. Awesome. Some it's cool things. All right. Any other big things? You wanted to showcase?
I think so. If I have to pick one more thing, the Optics Explorer. So if for some reason those 16 other tabs, 17 other tabs that we have don't have the visual that you're looking for, or you're working with a service that's maybe a little bit of an edge case service. So things like Macy come to mind, Amazon Poly, those are not major AWS services. And so we might not have a pre-built visual specifically around that cost and usage for that service. But the Optics Explorer lets you pick and choose a whole bunch of filters and options, and I can zero in on the specific product family. I can right click again when I get below. So let's see if we have any Macy spend in here. We do. This is a great example. So now I have custom Macy visuals right out of the box that I don't need to build anything. I don't need to know anything about QuickSight. I just need to choose an option from the drop down up here. Amazing.
Yeah, awesome. Okay. All right. Let me do one final quick poll before we finish. Let's jump on this. So, has anybody deployed the CUR dashboard? I'm intrigued to hear if people have. So 1 for yes, 2 for no in the chat. But yeah, Meredith, thank you for sharing. And it was a question as well. Can you control, like you said, you can't configure. So does that mean that you can't add things like row level security to it? Do you know?
Great question. You can apply row level security. So this is a QuickSight feature and functionality rather than anything specific to the CUR or to the CUR dashboards or cloud intelligence dashboards. So you just define a value and you define the user, and you can say this user can only see rows of this data that include this value. So that's a really handy tool for sharing out the data with others and the ability to limit. So actually, Zach was talking at the end of his session about, you might want to create a custom query and dump that data in a bucket so that a specific team can have access to just their data. We can also do a very similar thing with the cost and usage dashboard and using that row level security from QuickSight.
Awesome. Okay. And thanks for commenting on the poll, guys. Love it. So some people have, some people haven't. If you haven't, as Meredith said, 1-2 click deployment, go and try it out, especially if it's the end of your workday to go and do it. Awesome. Okay. So thank you so much for joining, Meredith. Richard, whenever you're ready, bring up the summary and I'll read out Richard's summary. So as always, Secret Richard provides a summary and I have to read without knowing. So the summary for today, 2 dot point, who knows, bigger, stronger, faster, and named columns. Yes, I was so excited that this has account names in the column. Number 2, nested data and consistent schema. That's making that data a lot smaller, which is amazing. And CUR dash deployment is Richard proof. Richard throwing himself some shade on his ability to deploy stuff. I'm the same. It's nice and easy. Okay, that is it for today's episode, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you, Meredith, for sharing that. And thank you to Zach earlier for coming on. We'll be back next week with another fun episode. So make sure to join us then. See ya.